Today on In The Woodyard, we've got a firewood delivery. We're going to talk about customers and how many you need to actually make a living selling firewood. Here we go. So recently I was asked on the channel from someone who's kind of getting going on selling firewood as a side thing, and they were curious if they could make a living selling firewood. And the answer is maybe. It really depends on you. It depends on your market. It depends on how much you can physically do. It depends on what you've got for equipment as far as producing wood, and your customer base is everything. And this guy was telling me that he thinks this year, he's in his third year, this year he thinks he's going to have right around 40,000 in sales. Now, 40,000 for some people are going to look at it and say, well, I could never live on that. And then there's other people going to say, 40,000, that's a lot of money. It just depends on where you live, depends on your needs as far as what you need for income. Now, if you're someone like me that's getting close to not ever having to work, actually I wouldn't have to work now, I just enjoy it. But there are people that have been working their whole life, and maybe they're getting into firewood as a side thing just to make some extra money, and it keeps growing, and they're at the point where, like, how much can they handle? How much do they want to do? And how much do they need to do? Those are questions you need to ask yourself. And if you're thinking about doing firewood on a full-time basis, it's going to depend upon, are you a single person? Is your house paid for? Do you have a family to support? Is your market area big enough? There's so many things you've got to ask yourself. Now, I've been selling firewood on a side basis from my other business for about 14 years or so. I started out with just selling extra wood that I had, and it's grown into where I now do about 200 full cords a year. And a full cord for me is, on average, including the delivery fees, is right around $400. Sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less, depending on the kind of wood. So if you extrapolate that out and do a little bit of math, that's like $80,000 worth of wood. But that's not like $80,000 worth of money just falls into my pockets. There's a lot of work involved. There's a lot of time involved, and there's a lot of cost of material. You got to buy wood if you're going to do that kind of volume. You're not going to cut it all on your own property, because eventually you're going to run out of trees, eventually, unless you've got thousands and thousands of acres. And there's certain kinds of wood that you might not have that you're going to need to have if you want to sell a lot for certain customers. So variety is one of those things you got to think about also. So there's a lot of aspects that you got to think about before you just jump in this and say, oh, I'm going to get rich selling firewood. Probably not is the answer. But you can make a decent living. There are people that I know that make millions of dollars selling firewood, big producers with multiple employees, and they sell all over. They have big businesses. But that didn't happen overnight. It took time to get there. Now, when I was talking about the money that I have coming in, when I say $80,000, I have to buy a lot of stuff through my business. So I buy a lot of logs. One log load for me on average is around $1,400, $1,500. And a log load for me volume-wise is 12, 13 full cords. But when you cut it, produce it into firewood size, split it, you have what's called shrinkage. You're going to have the kerf, you're going to lose some of that. You're going to lose bark. The wood actually physically shrinks. You're going to have pieces that come off. You're going to have debris. So for every 12 full log cords, you end up with about 10 full cords of wood. That's in general about where it is, somewhere in there. So that's something you got to think about. So it's not pure profit. If you're cutting all your own wood, well, you got a lot more time into it. So you got to go get it. You got to haul it. You got to have a way to handle it. Whether you got equipment or you don't, you're going to have tractor, skid steer, truck, trailers, splitter, processor, whatever it is. And that doesn't just happen overnight. Unless you've got money, you can go buy all this stuff. But then are you better off just keeping that money and being retired and enjoying cutting firewood just for yourself or friends? Or do you go into business, spend a whole bunch of money, and then hopefully make some money? Now, like I said, I've been doing this 14 or so years. Right now, I just looked at my order forms that I've done this year, and I've delivered wood to about 150 different people. And the reason I came up with that number is, and I've done way more deliveries than that, a lot of people will order 2, 3, 4, even 5 times, 6 times a year. Matter of fact, in 2 days, I'm going to my pizza restaurant again. I go there every 3 weeks with 2/3 of a cord, year round. So that's a pretty steady thing. And then I've got other people that I sell to that have a fire pit, and they burn outside in the fire pit all summer long. and they go camping. They take wood along to burn when they're camping. And they have a wood stove in their garage to heat their shop or their garage or their shed. And they have a fireplace. And some of those people have wood stoves and they burn a lot of wood. They might burn 4 or 5 full cords a year. So good customers. And one of the things that goes right in line with this, people say, well, they're not saving any money burning wood if they're buying it. You got to realize not a lot of people are looking to save money burning firewood. Those are the people that are going to cut their own wood on their own property because they're heating people and they're trying to save money by burning wood that they have access to. Those are not generally my customers, and those aren't the kind of customers that will spend more for wood. I'm selling to people that are burning for fun for the most part. The fire pits, camping, fireplace. I call it drinking wood, the relaxation wood. They're not burning it for heat. Auxiliary heat, yes, but primary heat, maybe 10% of my customers, it's their primary heat, but they also have, most of them will have some type of a furnace as a backup. They just like to burn firewood because they want it very warm in the house. They enjoy the heat. They enjoy the process. Yes, they might save some money, but a lot of them are actually spending the same amount of money whether they would just turn the thermostat up on their gas stove or if they would, put wood in the wood stove. Some people, like both my brothers, heat with wood. My brother Ken in particular heats his house and his garage with wood. And he also supplies wood for his neighbor where one of his wood yards are. So a lot of his wood is going for heating for personal use for him and his neighbor. And then he also sells a lot of wood too. So back to the volume of customers. The guy asked me, how many customers do you need to make a living selling firewood? Well, it depends on how much each one of those customers is buying. My 150 people that I sold to so far this year, the average is about a full cord. And I still have maybe 50 full cords to go, so that'll all be sold between now and the time it turns green. Right now we're end of February, and for you it might be March already because my videos are always ahead or behind, however you look at it. So it depends. And it depends on your market area, and this is something I've talked about extensively. The size of your area that you have as far as volume of people and kinds of houses. If you're in a big city where everybody's got apartments, you're probably not going to sell as much volume wood. You might sell small amounts, bundles, smaller amounts as far as delivery or what people will buy. But if you're in an area where there's multiple cities hooked together, small towns like I live in, I'm in the Fox River Valley of Appleton here, and we've got Appleton, Neenah, Menasha, Kimberly, Combined Locks, Little Chute, Hortonville, Town of Harrison, Sherwood. I got to think going out the other way. Freedom. I think I said Freedom. We got a bunch of towns. And within 10 to 15 miles of me, there's 250,000 people. So there's a lot of suburbs. And suburb people buy wood because they own their own house. A lot of them have fireplaces. A lot of them have backyards. So they have the fire pit. Those are my primary customers. Most of the people I sell to do not live in the country and do not have a wood boiler. And even a lot of the people that live in the country that I sell to don't have wood boilers. That is one of the things that I get on the channel a lot, is that people in certain parts of the United States where it is more rural, parts of Canada, those people heat with wood. And the people they sell to are buying bulk quantity. They're buying 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 full cords a year because that's their primary heating source. And they don't care what they get. They just want big hardwood or whatever wood's available to them. Sometimes it's spruce. Whatever you got available is what you're going to sell. And they are selling bulk quantities. But in general, I have found people that are heating with wood, they want 3 things, but they can only ever pick 2. They want the best wood they can possibly get, the hottest burning wood they can get. They want it at the cheapest price. And they want it right now. But that doesn't always go together. Cheap and high quality rarely go together. Rarely. That doesn't matter what product you're selling. If something is cheap, it's usually not good high quality. There's a reason the dollar stores exist. It's a lot of cheap stuff. There's a reason Walmart exists. It's a lot of cheap stuff. Yeah, I know there's some good stuff there, but if you want a super high quality, high-end item, whatever it is you're looking for, you're usually not going to find it at the discount stores. Same as what we do here with the firewood. If you want really high quality wood, it's not going to be cheap because it's going to be cut to the size you want. It's going to be the kind of wood you want. It's going to be seasoned properly. It's probably going to be delivered. Maybe it's stacked. So you're paying for a service and the quality of the wood. So this whole big thing I'm talking about is that, can you make a living selling firewood? Yes. When I first started, my goal was to make an extra $4 or $5 grand a year. That's what I thought would be possible, and I thought I'd be happy with that. It grew and it grew and it grew, and every year it doubled till it got to where I am now, and I don't really want any more. I could easily double my business within a year or two, triple it probably in 2-3 years, 5 times in 10 years, easily. I've got the market here to do it. It's just a matter of how much work do I want to do? How much work do I want to go after? How much extra do I need? I just don't need to do that much. I'm enjoying what I'm doing now. A couple hundred full cords is plenty for what I have time for and what I enjoy doing. YouTube takes as much time as the firewood, so they go hand in hand. I'm having fun doing all the stuff I'm doing, so that's what's enough for me. So you got to ask yourself, what do you need? What do you want? What are you willing to do? How much work do you want to do? Because making firewood is work. And I know that when I first started cutting wood, I thought, man, if I could make firewood like, 3, 4, 5 times a week for a couple hours, it'd be awesome. It's great exercise. I like doing it. Make a few bucks on the side. I thought it would be fantastic. Now it's become a job. Now I got to do it because I got customers to keep happy, and they keep calling. So you got to have wood when they're calling. So if you run out, that's an issue. And I'm at that point right now that my wood is disappearing very fast. So I just was on the phone this morning talking to a logger, and I've got some wood coming. I've got a whole bunch of stuff that I'm going to be getting. So that's coming down the road real soon. So can you make a living selling firewood? Yes. How good of a living? Depends. Depends on your market area. Depends how much work you want to do. Depends on the equipment you have available. Depends on what you want to invest in it. Time and effort and money. Those things is what it takes in any business to be successful. Most businesses don't make money until about their 5th, 6th, 7th year, where they start actually being able to take some draw. Most of the time, it goes right back into the business. Equipment, supplies, materials, labor, all that stuff has to be paid. And what happens with a lot of people, they make a few bucks and they spend it on some fancy toy. They go buy an ATV, they buy a snowmobile, they buy a boat, they buy a camper, they buy a new truck. No. Keep that money rolling, invest it in yourself and your product so it can grow faster and better. That's my theory, but I'm weird.